Lately, it feels like every time I hear new information about Blizzard, I'm given more reasons to feel pessimistic about the company's future. I don't think I have to recount the tone-deaf nature of Blizzard's Diablo Immortal announcement, and it wasn't long ago that I discussed an investigative report published by website Kotaku detailing ways that Activision was exerting its influence over what has traditionally been an independent subsidiary of the publisher. Prior to this year, Blizzard was a company that made games at its own pace, but throughout 2018, Activision has apparently been seeking to change all that by making Blizzard's top priority to ship more games faster rather than take their time with a select few long-term quality titles. From where I'm sitting, it seems like they're shifting Blizzard's internal culture to prioritize quantity over quality, and it's hardly surprising that these rumblings have left longtime fans of the studio concerned. As part of this shift, Activision has enacted an initiative to cut costs all across Blizzard, in no small part due to a weak financial performance for the publisher throughout 2018, and as part of that, they assigned Amrita Ahuja, once in the finance and investor relations departments over at Activision, to take over as chief financial officer of Blizzard. In spring of 2018, when Blizzard held their annual company-wide battle plan meeting, the emphasis became to save money, which was unprecedented for Blizzard, and took many of its employees by surprise, with concerns being raised about the priority of the company possibly shifting to something undesirable. We are already seeing signs of this cost-cutting initiative coming to fruition, with the downscaling of Heroes of the Storm and the abrupt cancellation of the game's esports events that left many professional players fuming at Blizzard's lack of communication and warning on this front being the most prominent example. Now, in a follow-up investigative article from Kotaku, more about Activision's initiative to cut costs and its effect on Blizzard was unveiled, and some of the details are definitely somewhat disconcerting. For example, one program that has been detailed by a Kotaku source was something called Career Crossroads. The article described it as follows. One Blizzard program, for example, is called Career Crossroads. It offers healthy severance packages to people who voluntarily take buyouts and choose to leave the company. At first, Career Crossroads was designed for veteran customer service representatives who had been at Blizzard for more than 5 years, but this year it opened up to QA and IT, according to one person familiar with the program. Blizzard has also lowered the number of years required to take a buyout, opening up Career Crossroads to even more employees, likely in hopes of increasing those numbers. Over the course of the last year, Blizzard has been trying very actively to find creative ways to cut costs that won't draw negative press attention, said a former employee. What we're essentially looking at here is incentive for employees within Blizzard who aren't part of a game's development team to leave their jobs. As part of Activision's cost-cutting initiative, it would seem as though Blizzard is resorting to paying people to quit. When Kotaku reached out to Blizzard for a comment on the matter, here's what they had to say. We have had a completely voluntary and long-standing program in various locations around the world that gives eligible staff the option to make the most of incentives while proactively pursuing other career opportunities. No one is required or encouraged to participate in the program, but for those who do, we work hard to make it generous. We have been offering it for many years, initially to some of our customer service teams, and we expanded it for a short period of time to a few other departments recently, given that it has proven to be a good way to help people who have been thinking about a career change or going back to school to get a head start on that path if that's what they want to do. While fewer than 10 people in the departments we recently expanded the program to have taken advantage of it, the general idea is that in addition to providing them with that opportunity, it also helps us give more advancement opportunities to other employees on the team when possible. While they make it seem like this is about providing employees in certain departments more flexibility, it isn't hard to see that there are ulterior intentions with all this. No company would expand incentives for staff to leave unless their goal was to get rid of them in a way that didn't raise too many eyebrows. After all, normally a company will aim to retain as many of its committed talent as possible, rather than encourage the idea of working there for a short time and leaving the door open for easy departures. So it seems rather clear that this sudden decision to expand this program to customer service, QA, and IT, departments that are seemingly being eyed for trimming, has more to do with the company-wide pursuit to save money by politely getting rid of certain non-essential staff. Now, while those departments are being subtly trimmed down to cut costs, Blizzard is also actively working towards bolstering their numerous game development teams with new hires in order to fulfill the mandate of shipping more games faster. Interesting to note is that the article specifically mentions that new games are being created for franchises like Diablo and Overwatch. We know that Diablo is getting both a brand new mobile game and a mainline 4th entry, but the mention of new Overwatch games is definitely new. Hard to tell if we're talking about a proper Overwatch sequel that's probably still a long ways off, or if this is an Overwatch mobile spin-off, given Blizzard is working on mobile games across all their franchises, but either way, something major is brewing for Overwatch. Anyway, moving on, the article proceeded by discussing how beyond the sudden expansion of this career Crossroads program, another way the cost-cutting initiative has affected Blizzard was conveyed by a veteran Blizzard employee who left recently and spoke to Kotaku anonymously, who had this to say: "Finance in general in Blizzard has been one of these invisible functions that's there but doesn't have a say. Now they're suddenly in meetings. So whereas before finance was more of a background entity, now the department is driving key decisions." A second Kotaku source expressed similar sentiments, stating, quote, "A lot of decisions now are being driven by business folks, marketing and finance folks. There's a real struggle now between developers and the business people. Strategic decisions are being driven by the finance group." According to Kotaku, these decisions that are now being influenced by business people could range from which technology should be used for a project to how much the company spends on Blizzard goodie boxes for BlizzCon. In other words, from the sound of things, every dollar is being scrutinized in a way that's never been done before at Blizzard. The one spearheading this operation and cultural shift within the studio is apparently a man going by the name of Armin Zerza, who was Chief Financial Officer and became Chief Operating Officer in late 2017, with his previous post being taken over by the aforementioned Amrita Ahuja. Apparently, since Zerza's promotion, he's, quote, "brought in a number of business-minded employees both from Activision and the consulting company McKinsey, many of whom might have different priorities than longtime Blizzard staff or those with development backgrounds." Oof, that feels gross to read. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against being financially responsible with your money, but it's a whole other thing to over-restrict expenditure to the point where it starts to have a tangible effect on a company's operations. As one former Blizzard employee put it in Kotaku's previous article, with the way money is being so heavily scrutinized, one would think Blizzard is going under and had no money when that's not the case at all. Cutting costs isn't just a suggestion either, aside from the fact that Ahuja made cost-cutting a centerpiece of Blizzard's 2018 Battle Plan meeting. People at the company are also being reminded on a monthly basis. There was then mention of Heroes of the Storm being scaled down and its esports programs being cut as a result of this being a title that struggled financially compared to other Blizzard titles. Me personally, I'm less surprised that this happened, and more peeved that Blizzard couldn't have done so a little more gracefully and gradually. Pro players, casters, and content creators who financially depended on the game and events surrounding it that Blizzard had promoted throughout the year could have at least been given some warning, or the company could have at least done one more round of esports events before bringing everything to a close, giving everyone a chance for a smoother transition. Anyway, the article then proceeded by linking to a report published by website Eurogamer detailing how 100 people within Blizzard's customer service office in Ireland have voluntarily decided to take advantage of the Career Crossroads program to leave the company with a little money on the side. Apparently, this offer was made at least 5 times, and the amount of money has increased, with one source noting they got a year's worth of pay from Blizzard for leaving. While he emphasized this was entirely voluntary, he decided to take the offer because it was too good to pass up, and because he sensed something was up with a workplace that kept offering people piles of cash to leave. As for the remaining staff, well, as Eurogamer put it, they've been picking up the slack, and concerns have been raised about this customer service office being able to adequately fulfill their intended purpose while in a now understaffed state. As one source put it, this means people will struggle to get the help they need, and the people that are left in the office are being forced onto shifts they do not like to try and cover this massive loss. Another source pointed to a tweet posted by Blizzard Customer Support Europe stating callback and live chat services would be temporarily closed as a sign of the impact that the recent exodus is having. But Blizzard assured in a statement to Eurogamer that players can expect the same level of service, while writing off concerns surrounding temporarily closed services as something that occasionally happens when there is high volume of contacts. In a separate statement, Blizzard also assured that this customer support office would not be shut down and that it would continue to service European players. Finally, Eurogamer relayed concerns from remaining staff about what these incentives for leaving the company could mean for the future, especially in light of Blizzard heads emphasizing cutting costs and having a lean year for 2019. As one source put it, at this point it's causing stress and a lot of questions about people who settled here with families. Kotaku also reported that Blizzard staff are getting worried about potential layoffs, with a wave possibly coming in the new year. Members of game development teams can rest easy knowing their job is safe, as the intention is to bolster development teams for higher output of games, but everyone else's job is up in the air, with Blizzard going out of their way to make voluntary exit from the company lucrative, signaling an ill omen. The article then contrasted Activision's model of annual releases for their franchises versus Blizzard's model of releasing quality titles sporadically and supporting them long-term, before highlighting that with co-founder and ex-CEO Mike Morhaime having departed the studio recently, Activision now seems to have more influence over Blizzard than ever before, an unsettling prospect for developers and consumers hoping Blizzard's more methodical and artistic approach to game making will be retained rather than be tarnished by corporate agendas. As one of Kotaku sources put it, Blizzard is a special place. A lot of people are worried about the future of Blizzard. If the Activision method seeps in more, what that's going to become. Personally speaking, I don't think it's a question of if, I think it's a question of when. Activision is desperate for ways to diversify their product output and revenue stream, especially in light of underwhelming financial performance in 2018 and the unstable stock market right now, and I'd wager they are planting seeds to shape Blizzard into their own image. Everyone seems to be getting the same vibes right now. With every passing year, Blizzard is becoming more corporate, with 2018 marking a significant milestone in that unfortunate shift as financial departments begin to play larger roles in key decisions. How this will all affect prospects for Blizzard's beloved franchises and upcoming projects like the highly anticipated Diablo 4 remains to be seen. But the more control Activision exerts over the studio's operations, the more I fear we'll see these games' design, artistic merit, and overall integrity marred by the rampant gold rush for recurrent monetization, a pattern we have seen time and again from greedy game publishers. Based on what we know now, based on all these different reports, based on what former and current Blizzard employees are saying, I am truly not looking forward to finding out what Blizzard will look like 5 years from now. These are one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on reports of Blizzard's cost-cutting measures and Activision's encroaching influence in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to support this channel directly, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.